Hey guys, so we decided to make an FAQ video for pretty much any new subscribers we have or anyone who happens to come across our videos in their recommended.
Just a new FAQ video.
Yeah, just covering the biggest questions that we see repeated over and over again in our comments.
Right.
So, are you ready?
Yep.
So the first and biggest question that we get a lot is, what happened to Loren?
Basically, it was just a forklift accident, just to sum it down. Forklift accident that literally cut my body in half at the waist and at my right arm.
Mm-hmm. And it happened September 27th of 2019, so it's been about a year and a half since the accident has happened. The next question that we get a lot, this is probably...
Are we suing, and what are we going after the company? We will never talk about legal allegations and all that.
Yeah,
We
find
too private.
no reason in needing to cover that. The whole point of our channel and everything is to cover Loren's recovery and, his attitude through it all and us adapting to our new life. And so the legality part of that is completely separate, and that's something we don't feel we need to share with the public ever, because that is a very personal thing. Another really big question that we get is, how does Loren go to the bathroom now that he doesn't have those parts?
So I have a colon, so everyone has a colon, but they just basically cut a hole in my stomach and pulled out a piece of colon for me to have a sphincter to poop into a bag on my stomach.
Which is called a colostomy.
Yeah, which is called a colostomy. And then right now, I currently have nephrostomy tubes, which are direct catheter lines into my kidneys that are sutured in. And I have one in each kidney. So I have 2 lines and 2 bags that I pee into.
But he does have a big surgery coming up soon where they're going to get rid of the nephrostomies and give him a urostomy, which is pretty much another bag on his stomach where they're going to hook up his ureters to, I believe, his colon as well, and pretty much make a second port on his stomach for him to go pee with. Mm-hmm. And that'll be really good for his mobility. Another really big repeated question that we get is, how do we have sex? How are we intimate? Everything like that. That is another very personal question that we're never going to answer. We're never going to allude to. It's one of the most disrespectful questions I think we do get.
Right.
Just because I feel like you wouldn't ask a random couple on the street how they have sex, and just because our life circumstances are different doesn't give people the right to ask personal questions like that. And I do get a little more aggressive with that one because I just think it's very disrespectful and we shouldn't have to explain ourselves with that. The next big question is, what kind of pain does Loren have?
So it's basically just so how the surgery worked was they extended my bottom abdominal muscles and wrapped them to my spine. So what the pain I've been having is just those muscles are just, the pain that I have is those muscles cramping, and it's just very intense sometimes. And whenever you see me doing the little arm shakes and twitches like that and stuff, that's just me stamping it out. That's my only personal relief to get the pain out.
How long will Loren live? What's his life expectancy? That one is so touch and go. There's no, for sure. In the recorded cases, I believe the average was about 11 years and the record holder was at about 24 years. But none of them were in the same situation as Loren. The closest one to Loren's situation, age, health, all of that, high bumpers, was the one who lived about 24 years. So, hey buddy. If we go off of that, we are hoping Loren has, 40 plus years. left with us. So that one, it's really hard to answer because his case is so rare.
Thank you for the water bottle, whoever sent it.
Because his case is so rare, it's hard to pinpoint. Another big one is, how old are we? And when did we meet? How long were we together when the accident happened? So I turned 22 in January.
And I was...
How old are you right now?
Well, I'm 19 right now. Well, yes. I was trying to... Sorry, my bad. But I'm 19 right now.
Yeah. And then when we met, Loren was 17 and I was 19. We're 2.5 years apart with a couple days, like literally 2 years, 6 months, and like 5 days or something like that. And we actually met at work and ended up hanging out a lot at a mutual friend's house, and then it just went from there. And we were together about 1.5 years, a little over, when the accident happened, and we had been living together for about 1 year at that point.
Yep.
So we were pretty concreted into our relationship when the accident happened. Another big question is, where are Loren's parents? Because you guys see my parents in a lot of things. You don't really see Loren's in a lot.
My father, he runs a tattoo shop, and if anyone on here is a tattoo artist, you know that, I mean, tattooing and art is...
It's a busy lifestyle.
It's a busy lifestyle, yeah. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't really have time to be around, but he comes around when needed.
Yeah, and he's present.
Yeah, and then I've already explained my mom before, but I guess my mom... She's just not in my life. Yeah. She's just doing her own thing. And then I have 1 full brother, 2 half sisters, and 2 half brothers.
And how tall were you before the accident?
Oh, I was like 5'10", almost 5'11", like in between. I was like 5'10", like 5'10 and a quarter or half or some shit. And then now I am 2 feet 8 inches tall also.
Yes, and you weigh about
85 pounds, and I have brown eyes.
Yes.
And Sabia has brown eyes.
Yes. We already pretty much know what our kids are gonna look like. A lot of people ask us about if we want kids, how we plan on having kids.
We're just gonna cross that bridge when we get there. I mean, there's multiple possibilities. I mean, you could adopt, you could have kids, you could have, you know.
We aren't planning to have kids for another like 5 years or so till we're more concreted into our lives. And who knows what the options will be by then. But short answer is yes, we do want kids, and we'll find a way to have a family of our own no matter what. Oh, another big thing I want to cover, just because not necessarily a question but more a conspiracy I've seen in our comments, is people get really confused about which arm Loren is missing. He's missing his right arm. A lot of our earlier videos, we were always filming with a phone camera. Sometimes we would have, you know, the front-facing camera. Other times we'd be using the back-facing camera, and the front-facing camera mirrors the image, so it makes us look backwards. And so a lot of people get confused as to why he's missing his left hand in some and his right hand in some. He's missing his right hand. We just only had a phone to film with. So that's another big thing I wanted to cover, because I actually saw some people getting in a fight about that in the comments. Another big one is, were you left-handed or right-handed before the accident?
Left-handed.
Yes, which he was pretty lucky in that, because...
Yeah.
And another big question is, how do you live like that?
How do I live like that? Yeah. Happily. I mean, I don't know. I have Sabia, and I have nothing to be too sad about, I guess. There's nothing tragic going on in my life. So that's how I live.
What do you do throughout the day?
What do I do? I stream on Twitch as much as possible whenever I can get up. But other than that, pretty much just lay in bed. But I try and stream on Twitch as much as possible whenever I'm sitting up. And then whenever we're sitting up, we're either doing YouTube. Whenever I'm sitting up, we're either doing YouTube videos or I'm streaming on Twitch.
A lot of times we go out to my parents' place, get in his track chair, do some stuff out there. In the summertime, we go on walks, and we have a community pool here, and we'll spend some time there too.
Yeah. So.
Don't just sit in bed. Big one that we see a lot in question form and statement form is, do I get a break from being his 24-hour caregiver? Do I get time for myself? So I am his 24-hour caregiver, but if I ever did need a vacation or a weekend off, it's set up to where if we call the insurance ahead of time, they can set up a step-in caregiver to take my place for however long I need off. So say I wanted to, go out to the cabin with some friends for a weekend, if we called like 2 weeks ahead, they could get a caregiver in place, and then they would take care of Loren. But with that being said, we haven't really had to use that option because with Loren being so independent, mostly every day is a break for me. I help him get up in the morning, get him in his chair, buckled up, stuff like that, and then we just kind of go about our days doing whatever. So it really isn't that strenuous on me, and because we both have our own areas in the apartment, we do get a lot of time away from each other, and so we haven't really needed to use that whole step-in caregiver thing because for the most part I'm not really overworked or overexhausted. Anytime that you guys see me sleepy in videos and you jump to the conclusion that I'm just working myself too hard, chances are I stayed up too late and didn't get a good night's sleep or something like that.
She probably played too many games that night and didn't fall asleep.
Yeah. Another big one is, do you have PTSD? Do you have any mental changes?
I personally don't think I do, but Sabia thinks she does.
I do.
Well, yeah, she does. I'm sorry. Yeah, Sabia has PTSD, but I don't have any PTSD from the accident, no. Like, being in construction zones and stuff like that doesn't scare me. Driving doesn't scare me. Nothing like that.
Do you have any other mental affecting things that happened? Depression, anxiety, anything like that?
No, I don't have. I haven't been diagnosed for any depression or anxiety. But
and I haven't noticed any change in his behavior either to kind of point to any of that. Mm-hmm. So he kind of got out scot-free with that. When you dream, do you have legs in your dreams?
Sometimes I do, which is pretty cool, and then sometimes I don't, which is, But yeah, sometimes I have dreams of me with legs, and it's pretty fun. So that's nice, and I think that's a kind of an advantage in life, because like compared for people being born like without legs and stuff, at least I got to experience a life one of my lives, I guess you'd say, with legs. So now I'm living a new life altogether.
If we didn't cover any questions that you guys may have, seen a lot in the comments or you have yourself, feel free to drop them in the comment section on this video. We can always make more question answering videos in the future for any other big questions you guys have that we may have not covered.
I mean, we could just make it a whole playlist. Why not?
Exactly. So feel free to drop any additional questions in the comments. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe.
Share with your family, and thank you guys for watching the video.
And thank you to everyone who's new and took the time to come watch this video to understand our story a little bit better.
Yeah, and happy late Easter. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to check the links out down below for our merch, donation if you want to, and for our other channel at iAceNation.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as well so that we can stay as active with you guys as possible.
Turn the bell on.
Yes, turn the notification on.